creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
This man is one of the most dangerous black magic users ever. His name is Al-Hussein Al-Falaki, and in the late 80s, everyone in Egypt feared him because he was known for his black magic and contact with jinns. The reason why he terrorized Egypt and he's known for that is because this man low-key didn't give a f***. You know when somebody does a bad thing, well, he tries to hide it. This man didn't. Everybody knew that he was specialized in summoning jinns and communicating with them, binding objects to spirits, and doing talismans and rituals. You know, basically black magic. And you used to do all this in his apartment, aka office. Now, after hearing all this, there is a question that comes in mind. Why can't people stop him? Good luck with that. First of all, nobody is trying to be cursed, respectfully. Second thing is, he was too far to be saved. Everybody knew that this will end badly. The stuff he's doing are too dangerous even for an expert. And without any surprise, something shocking happened to him. But before telling you what happened, let me tell you that this man made cash. Unlike other magicians, Al-Hussein Al-Falaki was so quiet, so calm, and educated. If I had to describe him with a word that we will use this day, I would say nonchalant. Not even joking. And this right here will get him so known and trusted. It got to a point where he didn't accept middle-class people anymore. All his clients were known actors, businessmen, and politicians. If an actor secretly went to his apartment tonight and paid him well, this man will do his thing, you know, he will do his black magic, and that actor will win an Oscar tomorrow. That's how good he was. Now, many people say that working with jinns is dangerous but possible, but you should never try to control them, and this man crossed the line. In 2003, he was found unalived in his own apartment. Oh, you know, bro, maybe he suffered from something, or basically a failure, you know, like heart attack got him. No. His face was frozen in terror, like it saw something. His eyes were wide open, and his jaw was broken. The most important detail in all of this was his apartment door. What about it? It was locked from the inside. If somebody unalived him, how can he lock the door of his apartment from the inside? After a long investigation, still nobody knows how this happened. He had no medical condition, nobody did this to him, and he didn't do it to himself. So his case was officially listed as unclear, but people around him were saying one thing. The jinn collected their...
Yup. Don't mess with black magic, folks.
Okay guys, some more tragic and horrifying breaking news. Legendary film director Rob Reiner and his wife have been found dead in their home in LA. Now, Reiner is behind a huge catalog of highly successful films. To make matters worse, police are investigating it as a homicide, and a senior law enforcement source told ABC News that the victims were stabbed to death. They were 78 and 68 years old. But this gets even crazier because in a pretty wild twist, People.com have come out with a pretty bold report, and they are saying that sources have told them that Rob Reiner's 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, is being treated as a prime suspect. Now, to be very clear, this has not been confirmed by authorities yet. This is one outlet, People.com, that are reporting on this. But as I know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
By the way, Rob Reiner is the guy who directed Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, what is it? The Bucket List.
I'm sorry, but something is very, very off about this. Watch this. Watch your eyes.
Pastor Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's. At one time, an employee of Turning Point.
Man.
She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now? Stop.
Stop.
That's it. That's all I have to say.
I believe Scarface said it best, y'all. The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
Yep.
Who do you think you are today? The more we learn about this covenant of God.
She got Kenneth Copeland eyes.
See, what's got everybody riled up, Miss Kirk, is the fact that this right here is 9/11, you know what I mean? The official story doesn't add up. Keep asking questions, and you're saying it doesn't add up. To stop asking questions, that's not what any of us are going to do. there are, you know how many anomalies there are with this, you know, and don't get the, I'm not even going to bring up the Romanian angel situation. Y'all look that up too if you really want to learn a few things about what's going on with that situation. Yeah.
Now, stop. That's it.
She don't play, folks.
That's all I have to say. Stop. The podcast.
Yes, let's go down the box rabbit hole. No pun intended. So the box is a club in New York City. My apartment that me and my friend were renting shares a wall with the box. Now, the box is completely hidden. There's no signage outside that says the box. It actually says like signs, like it's something that it's not. The box is, I think they call it a burlesque show. That's to put it mildly. It is insane. It's grotesque, it's like kinky, it's more than kinky, actually, it's wild. So wild that, like, go back and look at the video that I posted saying when it smells like literal poo-poo, but then I remember we share a wall with the box. If you're picking up one and putting down. You can go on Reddit, you can read people's stories there. A lot of people on Reddit are like, me and my friends have never talked about it since. We never want to talk about what we saw. I just want to put it out there. I've actually been in there 3 times. I've only seen half of the show because it's a club before the show starts, which starts at midnight, I believe. So I've seen half the show, and as it gets later, it gets raunchier. Did I like what I saw? No. And I'm glad I didn't stay for the whole thing. I don't know if I would do it again. Honestly, it's really wrong. I have very like teenage boy, like poo poo pee pee, dirty kind of humor. And so the whole time I'm watching the show, I'm like laughing and I'm like can't believe it. And all the other people there are just like watching like as if this is a damn movie. Also, you never want to be sitting in the front row. You're also not allowed to take pictures or videos. It's really, really cool inside. It's beautiful, actually. Kristen Rae did her album cover shoot there, and before the show starts, like, they just have dancers dancing on like furniture in the stage, and they're just in like little panties and nipple
But it smells like poo-poo.
pasties. Oh, and if it's like your birthday or you're at a table that is very close to the stage, then they'll like pull you up onto stage, which is horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Like if you have stage fright, take it to the next like disgusting level. A lot of people don't know how this place is legal. I don't either. I don't know everything. I just know what I know, and I know what I saw.
I don't like it, but I went 3 times.
They call her the Pac-Man lady.
Wow, bro, that's insane.
Do you watch that video?
Yeah, it was crazy. I seen the video last night.
You could deadass find the video?
She's still alive. Yeah, so I think her name was Alejandra. She was married to this dude named Mario, and this dude was a piece of abused the f out of her. And he also had another wife, so he had 2 wives, and he would beat the f out of both of them. They were both hella scared of him. Apparently, this girl Alejandra started seeing other dudes, and he found out she had lied to him, saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my sister." And he followed her, and he sees her getting into a truck, and he's like, "Oh, I know her sister's gonna drive a truck." He goes back home, waits for her. She comes home, he confronts her like, "Where was you at?" And she was like, "Oh, I was with my sister." He's like, "You're lying, bro." He grabs her, like pins her down, pulls down her pants, and sees that she's not wearing any underwear, and that set him off. He goes and grabs a machete, instantly starts hacking at her face, cuts her hands off, leaves a big ass cut in her face. The neighbors hear her screaming the entire time. Mind you, he did this in front of her kids too. She has like 3 kids. The neighbors hear her screaming like crazy, but the neighbors are even scared of this dude Mario. So they wait for this dude Mario to cut off. The neighbors come in. One of the neighbors was the one who actually recorded her. That's where that video comes from. And since they live so far out, it took emergency services like 45 minutes to pull up. And she died before they even got there. But she was alive, I think they said, for like 30 minutes after that.
And the most traumatizing part of the video is the fact that you could hear her agony.
And you can hear neighbors, you can hear your neighbors crying in the background. It's sickening, bro. And they ended up catching Mario like 2 or 3 days later. I think they sentenced him to 50 years to life.
I'm not exaggerating, bro, because we've seen some crazy. I believe you, bro. Trust. I definitely believe you.
I'm gonna show you a bit of the video, all right?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not gonna have the audio on. Like, that's her hands.
Bro.
All right.
Bro.
Look at this shit.
That shit.
All right, Mazad, are you really want to see this shit for us?
Go. Jesus. Just got the fuck.
Like you can't even show this on. You can't even show this. You definitely can't put this on there.
Y'all can search it up on your own. We're not gonna put
yeah.
nothing like that. That's on your own disclaimer.
I'm not going to search it.
The last 24 hours have been insane. An Australian skydiver's parachute got caught on the tail of an airplane 15,000 feet in the air. The jumper remained stuck as he started desperately trying to cut the 11 cords on the tangled parachute. Fearing that the aircraft could crash, the others were directed to jump for their own safety. Only 2 remained to watch the trapped skydiver free himself, which fortunately he was eventually able to do. Time magazine officially named the 2025 Person of the Year, and it wasn't even a person. They said, quote, 2025 was the year that AI's full potential roared into view, and also when it became clear that there'll be no turning back. Therefore, the architects of AI are Time's 2025 Person of the Year. 6 TikTokers have been arrested after an award show, including Ethiopia's Creator of the Year. 5 influencers were detained on allegations of wearing indecent attire at an award show, and today a 6th creator, Adonai Berhane, who has actually got almost 4 million followers and was named TikToker of the Year, was also detained and is now under investigation. Ethiopian federal police are now warning that they will take further action against anyone violating the country's cultural values or promoting what they described as shallow culture. A couple of days ago, the US military seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, alleging that it was smuggling oil to Iran. But now the White House says that it will be transported to a US port and they will be keeping it. Caroline Leavitt said the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed. Venezuela accused America of committing an act of international piracy. After some of Bulgaria's largest protests in decades, the government and its prime minister have officially been forced to resign. The head of NATO issued a stark warning saying that Russia could attack a NATO country within 5 years, saying, "We must prepare for the scale of war our grandparents or great-grandparents endured." And finally, Justin Bieber returned to the bowling alley where it all began. This was the location where the infamous Baby music video was recorded. Today, it is abandoned and falling apart, truly signaling the end of an era.
I adopted a new black kitten, if anyone cares.
71,716 VHS tapes, 9 apartments, and 1 woman who saw what was coming. There's a documentary called Recorder, the Marion Stokes Project, and it sounds impossible until you research and realize all of it is true. It's about a woman named Marion Stokes who spent 30 years recording television nonstop because she believed that someday people would try to rewrite history. Beginning in the late 70s, Marion pressed record and she never stopped. She used multiple VCRs to record up to 8 channels at once. Everything from CNN to Fox News to C-SPAN to talk shows, even the commercials in between shows. While the rest of the world was watching television, Marion was archiving it. She rented and filled 9 apartments in Philadelphia with tapes, over 71,000 of them. She said she was saving the truth. Television networks eventually delete their footage, and she knew that these tapes could prove.
I bet she can debunk a bunch of Mandela effects.
Phenotypes: Dravidian, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, which is Asians and Koreans and all of them. And then there's Negroid, which is me and Africans. And so here's the issue that I'm having. Scientifically, according to the Australian Research Center for Ancient DNA, we can prove that white people, Caucasoid people, because even if you don't identify as white, the term Jew is not a genealogical description. You can't genealogically be a Jew. Y'all all fall genetically in the category of Caucasoid. And Caucasoids, according to not only history, but biblical history as well, descend from the Caucasus Mountains. How, with the Middle East being an extension of Africa, our Caucasoids claiming that they are native to a land that not only they were never there, they were there and inhabited it after us. And so here's my thing, right? When we dealing with biblical genealogy, right? You brought up Jacob, right? Now, we know that there were no J's back then. And people say that there were Y's. Now, I disagree with that as well. But staying on that notion, Jacob would be Yaakov, which people would say is Yakub. Yeah. Now, Yakub in Hebrew literally means supplanter. Okay, so when we talk about supplanting, right? To supplant, they're talking about genetic engineering. Now, why is this important? I'm not being racist. Let me pull up the damn article. This right here is from molecular biology and evolution. And this clearly states that if you are not a descendant, it says if your heritage is non-African, you are part Neanderthal. Now the number specifically is you are 93% human and 7% Neanderthal. Caucasians come from Dravidians. So when we talk about white people coming from albinos, here's the problem. They don't come from African albinos, or Caucasoids, I should say. Don't come from African albinos. This man over here on the left is an African albino. You can clearly still see he's an African. This man right here, which kind of looks like you but has blonde hair, comes from this albino Dravidian. So everybody just looking at this picture would think that this is a white man. This is not a white man. This is an albino Dravidian.
So Spanish people do not exist?
This is demonic possession on full display.
What is wrong with you, man?
Stay away from me. Back up. What can we do to help? I'm Jesus Christ. Almighty. Okay. Nobody else needs to die for their sins, motherfucker. No.
Taser him.
Nobody else needs to die. You are under arrest. Put your hands behind your back now. No, I'm not. Now. Yes,
There you go. There you go.
You're gonna get tased. Put your hands behind your back now. Put your hands behind your back now.
to do this to me! Jesus Christ is here, you're all safe. You are safe.
Moments like this remind us that the battle isn't physical, it's spiritual. And if it's one thing that this moment proves, it's that hell forever trembles at the name of Jesus Christ.
I rebuke this in Jesus' name.
All the other universes are as real as the one you and I are in now.
Suppose you're right. What would it mean for me?
You have to start thinking of yourself as not as an entity existing in one universe, but an entity existing in the multiverse as a whole. And so there are other copies of you and of me in other universes. Some of these copies are completely identical to us.
What makes me go into multiple copies in multiple universes?
You already exist in multiple copies. Initially, they are all identical. And then when a moment of choice happens, both a microscopic one and one made by you consciously, these identical copies become different from one another.
So suppose you're walking in Oxford and you have to choose to go left or right.
In that case, for instance, it could be that in half the universes I go left and in half I go right. What we see around us is not the whole of reality. That reality is much more varied and has a great multiplicity. This is what we call multiple universes. This is a laser pointer that we use in giving lectures. I shine the laser through the hole. We can see a little spot on the screen over there. You'd expect to see just, if there's one hole, you'd expect to see one spot, but that's already not true. You see quite a complicated pattern. What would happen if we made a second hole? We get a completely different pattern. And through three holes, there's a different pattern again. How do we explain the fact that we see the same pattern, that we detect the same pattern on the screen, when there's only one photon at a time going through here, as we did when the bright laser light was shining on it? So even when there's only one photon at a time coming through, the place where it lands depends on what other holes there are. And what we must conclude from this is that something is coming through those other holes and shoving our photon aside, and that process is interference.
How do I even know who I am, what I am, if there are multiple copies for me?
That is the same question that one of a pair of identical twins might say if there are two identical twins called Joe and Jack, And Joe might ask, well, why am I Joe and him Jack? Well, the answer is, if you were Jack and he was Joe, you'd still be asking this question. The thing is, the fact of the matter is, there are two of you, and they are identical, or they were identical, until they started to become different by having different things happen to them. And it's the same with you and your counterparts in other universes. They start off identical. When they're identical, it doesn't make any difference whether you call them one copy of you or several. But then when they start becoming different, it is worth calling them different versions of you, slightly different versions. Some of them, in more distant parts of the multiverse, will be so different from you that it isn't worth calling them you anymore.
I thought this was Harry Potter.
Aliens are demons.
What?
Yeah.
Explain.
A lot of people think that aliens are like these extraterrestrial life forms, right?
ET phone home.
The way that the Bible explains it, it's any distraction, it's deception at the end of the day. So demons are shapeshifters, right? And they can shapeshift to your granny, they can shapeshift to aliens, whatever would make you just believe that there's something and distract you away from God. That's their main goal. 2 Corinthians 11:14 says, marvel not, so don't be deceived, don't be surprised. Satan himself has transformed himself into an angel of light. The enemy wants us to wonder. It's that 1 degree pivot. Stay focused on the gospel, guys. That's literally what it is.
God made this ever-expanding universe that scientists say, like, it's still expanding. We don't know how big it is. Theoretically, it has to be true that there is other life out there. You think that there's angels that are among us, like, right now?
I don't know if there's angels among us.
Angels don't look like human with wings and halos. They're scary looking.
They're like filled with like 1,000 eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's biblical.
But you don't believe in other life forms?
I do.
Okay. That could exist in, like...
I do believe in that.
Yeah. But you just don't focus on it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. It's all a distraction at the end of the day. If you're focusing on something that is not of God, then it's all of the ungodly God, right? Which is Satan. Again, what you magnify is going to become your master. And that goes for everything. What you literally put your attention to and your ambition and your goals towards and living for, that's going to be your master 1000%.
I agree. And you know, the movie The Fourth Kind made me realize aliens are demons.
Obviously, they can't reproduce in the same ways that we can, so that's a lot of it. But this started, they say, hundreds of years ago with the opera, where they started castrating their sons so that they could sing in the opera because it would make their voice a higher pitch. So I would imagine that's how a lot of this started, plus bloodlines and all the things. If they're gay men and they started sex trafficking women, it's all going to make a lot of sense to you now. So these people, when they have a baby, they don't view it the same way that we do. These babies were born, and until they were 7, they trained them to be a girl and they trained them to be a boy. All the mannerisms, the walk, the talk, everything. They say by the time they're 7, that's when they'll start medicine, and then the surgeries come. By 13, they don't have breasts anymore, and they do not have the ability to have children anymore by 13. The most obvious thing for me now at this point, now that I know it's a drag show, that you're watching a drag show, it's a little easier to comprehend. So you can see a woman is just, her eyes are going to be closer together, her chin is going to be longer, her cheeks are more narrow. Just, it's so obvious now. They're going to go through brow reshaping, they're going to go through extensive surgeries for their entire life. At some point, I'm sure there's a conversation had, and they know. But what do they know? They don't know life the same that we know. You see, they're growing up in a house with trans parents. They're growing up believing that they don't understand what we understand. To them, we're probably the freaks of nature. I mean, once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's Kylie Jenner, that's Kim Kardashian. It's literally, I don't know who is in the right body. I don't think any of them are. 50 Cent is obviously a man. There's a few of celebrities that you see the route that they took. And I don't know what year did this become like a full-on thing. Look, I mean, Mel Gibson is obviously a man. That's a skull of a man. But what's his story? I don't know. What's going on in Hollywood, you guys? Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you think.
Serena Williams.
Now, most of the comments on this video think it's AI, which is understandable. But
It's not. Meet the planarian flatworm. It's a carnivorous species of worm that's found in dark places all over the world. And according to scientists, they are biologically immortal. In other words, they can't die from natural causes. But not only that, they also have the best regeneration abilities of any creature on Earth. They're basically indestructible. If you were to chop one of these bad boys in half, both halves will turn into 2 completely new worms. In fact, one researcher chopped one of these up into 279 pieces. You know what happened? 279 new worms happened. You can't kill it. You can only give it teammates. But the wild part is when you chop them up into pieces, all the pieces will have the same memories. And because of that, it's raised a whole bunch of questions regarding where memory is actually stored. Moral of the story, there's a chance that the movie Venom might have been a documentary. And as always, follow for more facts.
How about fire? Oh, are they edible?
Kobe Bryant never was a part of the Boule Secret Society until he came back from that mess in Colorado. They couldn't control him. See, if they can't control you, they will set you up to be blackmailed. So Dr. Jerry Buss, God rest his soul, sent Kobe to Eagle, Colorado to get his knee worked on as if there's no knee doctors here in Los Angeles County.
Now, from what I heard, Kobe, after they traded Shaq, traded Nick, got rid of everybody, he wanted to leave.
Yes.
And so when he said,
no.
You, after I did all this, you want to leave?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well, go get your knee fixed first. So that was a cold move right there. I heard about that gangster move. Yeah.
Oh, you see, and people like Kobe did not have the Holy Spirit. Thereby, they did not have discernment, you see. And so Kobe Bryant sent to Eagle, Colorado. Okay, Dr. Richard Stedman was Kobe's knee doctor. Dr. Richard Stedman was a member of Phi Beta Kappa, which is the educational and the legal arm of deep state. Well, Kappa Beta Phi is the Wall Street faction. So Dr. Richard Stedman was Phi Beta Kappa. Told Kobe, listen, you don't need to stay near my office. You can go to Edwards, Colorado. That makes no sense. That's miles away. Setting him up.
So Kobe was set up with that SA case.
This man right here is a hero. Let me show you why. This video recently went viral with this bear walking through town, and this guy comes up and touches it, and everyone gets really upset saying the bear was minding its own business. This guy is really dumb, and he shouldn't have done this and all this stuff. But he's a hero. If you watch this carefully, I'm gonna slow this back. I'm gonna rewind this and slow it down for you guys. Watch this carefully. There's a family with 2 little girls walking around that corner.
Oh, yeah.
This guy notices that and says, like, if I don't do something, they're about to meet head on around that corner. I'm gonna reach out and touch it so it goes for me instead of them. This guy's a hero. So all the comments saying how dumb he is and how bad he is and stupid he is, look what he did. If you actually pay attention to what's actually going on. This guy, an unsung hero, so hats off to this guy and boo-hoo to you commenters because you guys are wrong. This guy saved those kids. Play it back, watch again. If he didn't do that, they would have met face on and it would have been a big old mess. Look.
That's how Jesus worked.
This is a conspiracy that turned out to be true. It's about a guy named John Lang. There's a bunch of video evidence that's helped supports the conspiracy. You see a van pull up in front of his house and opens up the door and like it looks like there's like a big ass camera pointed to the house. And from what he says, it's a thermal imaging camera just so they could see if I'm inside my house. What the Watch. Boom. It's like, why?
Bro, nah, that's mad weird and sus. Then they just leave like that?
Mm-hmm. And in every single video that he posts, there's a detailed description in every video basically saying like why he's posting the video, and he thinks that they're stalking him, like the police. And the reason why they're stalking him was because John was a whistleblower. From 2009 to 2013, he would post on Facebook exposing the Fresno police for doing a scam. They would go to parking lots, and specifically like the ghetto areas, scan people's license plates, and then see who has violations on their name. Like, let's say they get a hit, they would wait for the person to come back to the car for them to leave, follow them, act like it's just a normal stop, knowing that they'll be able to arrest them from whatever violation they had. As the days went on, his Facebook posts would just become more frantic of him just asking for help. And then January 20th of 2016, his house was set on fire and he was found dead with stab wounds to the chest and to the back. And whenever
there is a thing about a guy who used to work in the Navy in the 70s. They place an acoustic sensor device all throughout the ocean floor in the certain areas. This was to map the ocean floor, detect submarines, and find other anomalies and stuff. It says one of the contacts while in the Navy who worked on the ASW team who was responsible for monitoring the sensors and everything. They would discuss underwater submersible objects that detected that would travel at thousands of miles per hour underwater.
What are you talking about?
He said they also have detected various structures underwater that are active and that they stay clear of. And so those might be like volcanoes or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But they're detecting actual anomalies
This came out
underwater.
recently?
This is a report from a guy that worked in the Navy in the 1970s.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was in the 70s? They were tracking this stuff?
When they placed the sensor devices in on the ocean floor.
That is so
Yeah.
cool.
So,
you know how you get stoked about space?
Yeah.
I get stoked about the ocean.
Well, those are probably like alien stuff, though.
Yes!
Oh.
They're meeting.
Dude, the ocean freaks me out way more than space.
The Marine Kingdom. Look it up.
POV, you're cleaning out the deceased mother's freezer and make a 50-year-old discovery.
Back in 2019, this guy by the name of Adam Smith, he was taking care of his mother who was like slowly passing away because of cancer. And there was this box, a wedding cake box inside the freezer that she would always say, don't touch it, don't touch it. He thought that it was her wedding cake from 50 years ago.
That she was just preserving?
Yeah, that she wanted to keep for like the rest of her life. It wasn't until she had passed away that he was like, you know what? I think I should just open it.
Like, it's time. She's not here. She can't stop me. Let me just see.
He decided to open it. When he opened it, there was a pink blanket, right? And inside the blanket, there was a baby.
Okay. Well, what the why did the grandma have the baby? What the fuck?
So he decided to call the cops. The cops got there, started like doing tests and stuff, and they weren't able to determine the reason as to why the baby had passed away. But what they're assuming is that maybe the mom had a
miscarriage or something, or
not like a miscarriage, and I don't think it's a stillbirth either, because it wasn't like a newborn. It was like a couple months old. So maybe like she wasn't able to like let go of like the child dying, because sometimes that happens where the baby stopped breathing for no apparent reason.
Did the son know that grandma had a baby?
That was his mom. He didn't know, bro. That box was older than him, bro. So now, like, what would you do in that scenario, bro? It's kind of like, would you help your boy, or like, would you help a family member cover up a...
Just depends on the reason. What the fuck? For a valid reason only. If it's just like on some like serial killer shit, I just had the urge to kill somebody and I need to hide the body, then fuck no, bro. You're going to fucking jail.
Speaking of what Mr. Beast knows, he did this whole thing of like underground nuclear bunkers. Like, he went to the bunker that we've talked about when we were talking about the Denver airport.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You know that one that's in Colorado? In
the mountains?
He got access to it.
What is this guy into?
He's an asset at this point.
I think he is.
I mean, he wasn't allowed to film a lot. Like, they kept on saying, okay, you can't film this part.
How do you get that clearance?
That's what I'm saying.
They have to be contacting him. What did he say about the bunker?
You could literally drop the most powerful nuke on top of it and it would not destroy it.
You know they have more too.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have more.
They have a subway in there.
What?
I
That's
said,
even
could
better.
you imagine being a subway worker and you just have to go into this underground bunker every day?
Yeah.
What's comforting to know is that if our entire species suffers nuclear winter, Subway will live on.
Subway will be there.
That's weird to me that
should be a
Subway hasn't
conspiracy.
gone out of business.
What if they are literally just keeping them afloat just because that's a restaurant in this bunker?
Yeah, we can't get rid of it.
Like, they're funding Subway.
They probably did that like 30 years ago and then Jared Fogle messed up. They're like, dang it, Jared!
Or maybe he found out something about the bunker and they blackmailed him.
Oh! Release Jared Fogle! No, we're not.
The monster logo is 6666 in Hebrew.
Were men being possessed, having sex with women, birthing demons through that intercourse. I believe that is happening on a scale of like Petri dish scale. I believe there's deep occults in this nation, secret occult, that are birthing the most beautiful actors, that are coming together and birthing Nephilim. It's all completely planned. These, like, some of our favorite actors, dude, we are falling to sleep to the voices of demons. Like, these are demons. And even if they're not a Nephilim, They're very demonically possessed men. So when we're watching movies and we love this favorite actor or that one and you're falling asleep to it, that's your comfort. Maybe we can start to see how deeply involved we are. And God said, don't do it. We're going to see someday that America was the most disgusting, submerged nation that taught the world how to sin. We taught the world how to have sex with demons. We taught the world how to have sex. We taught the world the moans, the disgusting noises. We taught the world how to glorify demons through our favorite actors, our politicians, our musicians. These people are either Nephilim or they're very possessed. Yeah, actually, Jim Carrey is one.
Jim Carrey?
I know that hurts people. They're going to laugh. They're like, oh, you lost me. You lost me, dude. I'm changing the channel. The Antichrist spirit I hung out with was literally the character of Jim Carrey. Like the funny, the laughing. You could kind of imagine like those joyful Jim Carrey characters, but with like this backside of like psychopath, murder, blood, anger, rage. He was, dude, I would laugh by myself for hours to Jim Carrey telling me jokes, but it was a spirit who was white and black acting like Jesus. And it was all the same jokes. And I was told that Jesus is manifesting through Jim Carrey, the whole JC thing, how it's Jim Carrey, Jesus Christ, how on Christmas we should be exalting Jesus, but instead we're like submerging ourselves in Jim Carrey movies, The Grinch, how there's like the real righteousness and then there's a fake righteousness. So we're falling for the Antichrist fake righteousness through the love of the Grinch and all this stuff. That's what God has shown me afterwards. But at the time I was shown how this Jesus character was manifesting through Jim Carrey and I was like believing it. But now that God has redeemed me, I've been shown all the opposites of how it was the Antichrist manifesting through Jim Carrey. And actually Jim Carrey, I really believe is a monster. I don't mean to like call out names. I don't mean to do it. You can take it how you will, but I hung out with Jim Carrey in the spirit and like not him, but the character he plays. So even if Jim Carrey's not a Nephilim, he's manifesting an Antichrist spirit, and we love him. We can't get enough of it.
Okay guys, breaking news. We've just got a bunch of really strange, never seen before images from the Epstein files, which include the likes of Trump, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, and more. And we'll talk about why they're so strange in a second. So there was about 19 released in total. This is one of Trump with 6 women whose faces have been redacted for privacy. There's another one of him on a private jet with another unknown woman. We have Trump seen at another party with Epstein. Here's the strangest one by far. A picture of a Trump condom for sale with text saying, I'm huge. We've got Bill Gates with one of the pilots, a bunch of pictures on the wall actually, of redacted women's faces and what appears to be Bill Gates on a jet. We've got Bill Gates and Andrew. You've got a few pictures of Steve Bannon with Epstein and Richard Branson as well. But the strangest part about all of these is that no one really knows why these images in particular were released. As far as we know, none of these images that were released depict any sexual misconduct, or they're not believed to have depict any underage girls either. And apparently, to make this even stranger, the Democrat House Committee have received over 95,000 photos from the Epstein estate. So again, why these now? They did say that they would be releasing more of these images to the public in the days and weeks ahead. So, what do you guys think?
Richard Branson, you mean the guy that named his company Virgin?
Does Candace Owens have ties to Freemasonry and the Order Eastern Star? We're going to start with our Twitter header, or X header at the top. That's an awfully nice checkerboard pattern floor there. You have Candace. Are we allowed to ask these kinds of questions? Because you said you were one of the founding Masons of Turning Point. Just like your husband's one of the chairmen for Turning Point UK. But did you know that that was a chapter for the Order Eastern Star? That's what OES stands for right there. Are we allowed to ask these kind of questions, Candace? Can you explain why there's a turning point for uncresting of American Freemasonry in this Life magazine? Or could anybody explain why Freemasonry and Scouting, the Boy Scouts, have, similar oaths and pins and rituals? Or better yet, why was Harry Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, who was a 33-degree Freemason, has a group of Eagle Scouts at the Oval Office in 1950? The Eagle Scouts, huh? You mean Charlie Kirk, who was a member of the Boy Scouts and earned the rank of an Eagle Scout? It's Turning Point USA, right? Turning Point USA. Turning Point chapter. Turning Point, UK. This is her husband, George Farmer. I'm going to show you his father now. Mr. Lord Farmer. That's a great name to be calling somebody a lord. See how it says he was a member of House of the Lords? House of the Lords. The upper house of the Parliament of the United Kingdom. You guys know who King Charles's father was? King Philip was a Freemason, part of the Navy Lodge 2612. That's who her husband has ties to, right? You can only be a woman in Freemasonry if you're married to a Master Mason or somebody along the bloodline. Who do you think this dude works for right now? He's literally a merchant, so on and so forth. He has ties to the royal bloodline.
The Beast of Bray Road. You ever hear of the Beast of Bray Road?
I have not.
Elkhorn, Wisconsin. This community was terrorized by the Beast of Bray Road, an upright walking canine. In 1936, one of the stories that came out was there was a guy who was working a cemetery, and he was on the midnight shift. He goes out and he sees this dog digging up a grave. What's really weird is when it stands up on its hind legs. And he said it just stood there, looked at him, and then went into the woods. And so he finished his night, came back the next night, and again, this dog is back digging up a grave, and he sees this thing. It stands up on its hind legs, and this time it spoke to him. It said the word Gadara to him, and then went into the woods. There's a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that thinks that there's a connection between this thing saying Gadara and the demoniac man, the Gadarene, from Gadara. Where was he at? He was in the tombs, where Doug Van Dorn says the offspring of the Nephilim are buried. Why is there in Wisconsin a dogman entity digging up graves saying Gadara, which in Mark 5, a demoniac man that has legion, and they're all dwelling among these tombs? It's almost like he's trying to find the tombs again. Where
there's a place in America where gravity bends, people shrink, and water flows uphill. But the weirdest part is the man who discovered what's really happening there burned all of his research, saying that the world wasn't ready. This area is known as the Oregon Vortex and is one of the strangest physical anomalies in the United States. Just outside Gold Hill, Oregon, there's a wooded area known as the Vortex, and the second you step into it, something feels off. Visitors report a heavy pressure in the air, sudden dizziness, compasses refusing to point north, brooms standing upright on their own, balls and bottles rolling uphill, and people growing and shrinking, depending on where they stand. And the strangest part is that these effects don't just happen inside the tilted building, but they happen outside, on open ground, with no tricks, walls, and no forced perspective. Even animals avoid the place. Horseback riders say their horses stop dead on the boundary line and refuse to take another step. The Oregon Vortex was first studied by a British mining engineer named John Lister. He was a geologist and a mathematician who worked in the area in the early 1900s. And while surveying the land, Lister noticed something strange. His compass drifted, metal tools acted weird, and the ground seemed to pull differently depending on where he stood. And that started a decades-long obsession. From the 1910s through the 1920s, Lister conducted experiments deep in the woods, trying to map what he believed was a spherical field of force. He wasn't a paranormal conspiracy theorist, and he wasn't a showman. He was a scientist. And he believed something was happening in Oregon that broke the known laws of physics. According to handwritten notes and witness accounts, Lister concluded that the vortex wasn't an illusion, but an actual distortion in either gravity, magnetism, or space itself. He claimed that gravity was stronger in some directions, but weaker in others, and vertical force lines tilted inside the vortex. He also said that light bent in subtle ways, distorting perception, and the anomaly extended underground, possibly hundreds of feet deep. Another note was that animals reacted to something that humans couldn't sense. He even told coworkers he believed the vortex was a natural space-time distortion, decades before modern physics ever considered that idea. And then he did something unthinkable. Near the end of his life, after collecting decades of data, Lister gathered almost all of his notebooks, measurements, and diagrams, and burned them. According to the caretakers of the property and people who knew him, his final words about the vortex were chilling. Lister said, "The world isn't ready for this. They would misuse it." And when he died, only scraps of his work survived. A few diagrams, a few sketches, and a place that behaves in a way that no one has fully explained. Skeptics say that it's all just optical illusions, a tilted building and bent trees confusing your brain. But if that's true, then why do the effects work on open ground? Why do compasses drift and animals refuse to enter? Why do people feel pressure, dizziness, and weight changes? Even today, surveyors and physicists visit the Oregon vortex and leave with more questions than answers. Some believe it's a magnetic anomaly, some believe it's a geological hotspot, and others think it's a part of a network of energy nodes, the same type of place linked to Sedona, Skinwalker Ranch, and the Bridgewater Triangle. So what exactly did John Lister discover in the Oregon vortex? A glitch in gravity, a magnetic distortion, or a natural warp in space-time? Maybe it was something even stranger. Something that he thought humanity wasn't ready to understand.
Probably there's natural magnets in the ground. I don't know. But let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
While you've all been focused on this Diddy documentary, JP Morgan just did something that every single person in America needs to be talking about right now. Last week, without a press conference, right, JP Morgan moved its entire gold trading desk out of New York and into Singapore. Over 50 traders and their families were told this: be in Singapore by the end of the week. I'll tell you why that's important. Gold is exploding, which is what I've been trying to tell people about for quite some time now. Now above $4,256 an ounce. JP Morgan delivered over $4 billion in physical bullion this month alone. The largest physical delivery since 2008, which is highly ironic, right around the period of which that huge financial crisis in 2007 occurred. But get this right, Singapore was actually the first country to launch a Ripple-powered gold-backed wallet on
Ripple,
the XRPL, a real asset, tokenized, settling globally in just seconds. So ask yourself, why would JP Morgan run towards the same country that pioneered tokenized gold on XRP? Oh wait, I know. Because hard assets are replacing paper promises. Is Asia replacing Wall Street? I mean, think about this, right? Berkshire Hathaway, right? The trillion-dollar conglomerate announced a shoveling of its leadership roles on Monday, shortly before Warren Buffett steps down as chief executive. Did you know that actually during the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis, Warren Buffett, through Berkshire Hathaway, made over $10 billion in profits? Do you know what happened to the middle and lower classes? They were seen as being saved by Obama. The most obvious, well, let's just say plants need to be watered, right? And that's not me trying to tell you to think one-sided, because do know there's two sides to the same exact coin. And if you follow the money every single time, where do you end up? Well, I don't know. Look at every single major contributor to every single one of their campaigns. It makes you think, do our VOTES really matter?
I kept buying XRP. They're down now, but it's going to go up.
11 years old, my biochemistry teacher, he gave me this book he wrote. It was called The Illusion of Paradise. And there he would describe the biological and chemical processes that happen in your body once you consume this or that substance. It was mainly related to illegal drugs, but alcohol was one of these addictive substances that he covered. So it turns out that when you drink alcohol, the thing that happens is that your brain cells become paralyzed. They become literally zombies. And then next day, sometime after the party is over, some of your brain cells die and never get to normal. So think about it as if your brain is this most valuable tool you have in your journey to success and happiness, why would you destroy this tool for short-term pleasure? This sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, in many ways it's a poison we'll let in our body. But by way of advice, what advice would you give to people who consider not drinking? You know, a lot of people use alcohol to enable them to have a vibrant social life. There's a lot of pressures from society, you know, at a party to drink so you can socialize. So what advice would you give to them, to people who imagine having a social life without alcohol?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid to be contrarian. Set your own rules. Secondly, if you feel you need to drink, there must be some problem you're trying to conceal. There's something some fear you're not ready to confront. And you have to address this fear. If there is a good-looking girl you're afraid to approach, Get rid of this fear. Approach her. Practice. Do it again and again. It's pretty banal, but this advice works.
Fix the underlying problem,
Just
which
do
is
it.
usually at the very bottom is always going to be fear. Work on that.
And very often people are trying to escape something in their lives with alcohol. What is it they're trying to escape? What is this problem? You have to get to the bottom of it. Your mind is trying to tell you something valuable, and instead of addressing it directly, you are flooding it in alcohol, which is sort of a spiritual painkiller, but works only temporarily, and then you have to pay the debt with interest.
A lot of Christians don't know this. The passage that describes what almost everyone agrees is the fall of Satan in heaven pre-Genesis is Ezekiel 28. I'm going to read it, and and I'm going to point out why everybody thinks this is describing the fall of Satan. This is, by the way, an example. We talk about this a lot on the podcast. This is an example of a prophecy that has an immediate fulfillment and then an eternal fulfillment as well. What I'm getting ready to read is from Ezekiel 28. A lot of people think that it's referencing the king of Tyre, T-Y-E-R, and that would be an immediate fulfillment. But there's no way it can just be that. And I'm going to point out why. So this is Ezekiel 28. It says, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God." Now, let me stop there. Everybody's like, hey, dude, skeptics are like, it's talking about the king of Tyre. Well, guess who was not in Eden, the garden of God?
The king
of Tyre was not in Eden, the garden of God. Also, the king of Tyre was not the seal of perfection. Also, the king of Tyre was a wicked and foolish man. He was not full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. This has to be talking about somebody else, okay? So then it goes on. "Every precious stone adorned you. You were anointed as a guardian cherub." If you are unfamiliar with the Bible, there are typically two species, probably two species of angels. There may be more. Probably two species of angels that are referenced. Cherubim and seraphim. Now you get into the passages that talk about the watchers. You deep dive this stuff, and there's some you can get trippy. But there's passages that talk about the watchers and all this, but there's at least two, cherubim and seraphim. The cherubim seem to be the higher ranking angels. So it says about this, whoever this is talking about, "You were anointed as a guardian cherub. For so I ordained you. For you were on the holy mount of God." Again, that's not where the king of Tyre was. "You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways. From the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Then your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom and because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth, and I made a spectacle of you before kings." Now, what nearly every theologian says is that prophecy is reaching back to pre-Genesis, and it's describing the fall of Satan. All right, now let's go a layer deeper. There are only three angels that are mentioned by name in the Bible. Only three. You got Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. So those are the only three. So this is a little speculation, but it's educated speculation.
So is it?
So you only have three angels. Now you go a layer deeper, you get to Revelation. Revelation 12 seems to be the exact example of what we were talking about earlier, where Revelation is showing what's going on behind the scenes in the spiritual realm. And it says, and I'm going to read it, okay? Revelation 12 seems to be describing what happened when Satan originally fell. And it says this: "Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon." That is very clearly seems to be Lucifer, Satan, the devil. "And the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was not strong enough." That's a great verse. But he was not strong enough. Wow. Come on, somebody.
Wow.
"Greater is he that is in you." Amen. "And they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and watch this is really important, and his angels with him." So what it seems like you have is, interesting, you've only got three angels mentioned: Michael, Gabriel, Lucifer. Revelation 12, 3 and 4 says this: "Its tail," talking about the dragon, "swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth." And then it talks about the quote unquote his angels falling. So what it seems like you got is the three chief leader angels of heaven: Michael, Gabriel, Lucifer. Lucifer becomes proud. He doesn't want to worship God. He wants to be worshiped as God.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to take orders. He wants to give orders. And he rebels. God casts him out of heaven. And think about that. There's three angels that are named, and a third, that's really important, a third of the angels fall with him. This answers two questions. What are angels? Angels are servants of God, spiritual servants of God in his kingdom. And what are demons? They're fallen angels.
Yes.
They used to be angels. They were cast out of heaven because they decided to follow Lucifer.
There's a story that was passed down for generations by the Hopi people, born of a time when humans would create a terrifying object so powerful it could burn the earth, poison the skies, and they referred to that as a gourd of ashes, which sounds a lot like the atomic bombs.
Right.
The way the prophecy goes, it starts out, at some point, the earth, there would be a black ribbon built, and that bugs would be upon it, and then you begin to see the bug moving on the land. It would be so violent that the bug would be shaken off of the earth into the air, and it would begin to move and fly through the air, and it would cause disease. This predates the gourd. Apparently in the 20s, they saw those planes and cars, and they were like, okay, this is something coming true, because we've seen the first two things happen, and the third, this complete destruction, poisoning the waters, consuming the land. They believe that the technological advancement without spiritual wisdom would destroy the earth. They warned that we are now living in the fourth world, is what they call it. This is terrifying. He said, nature will speak with its own voice. The time for warnings is over.
Chinese parents in Yang have discovered why their 3-year-old daughter does not look like them. As you can see, she is blonde and has blue eyes and does not appear like those in China normally. She was born in 2022, and her parents began to think that the hospital had changed their daughter. They began to perform DNA tests, which confirmed that she is indeed their biological daughter, so they started looking into their family's genetic history. They did not know anyone with these characteristics among their ancestors. It turned out that they discovered that their daughter's paternal great-grandfather was Russian. His great-grandfather married a woman in China, and that is where their daughter's genes come from. They also said that the genes inherited from their great-grandfather that affect these features are apparently inactive in males, since all previous births in their family were male, and no one showed this trait. But somehow the genetic traits had remained hidden for generations until the daughter of this Chinese couple arrived.
You know, native Chinese people used to be white with red hair. Google it.
Somebody submitted a spooky story saying that they encountered the devil in LA and they nearly sold their soul. I am back with another spooky story, and I don't know if you want to watch this one at night. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Angela. Angela says that she's sending this anonymously because she doesn't want anybody connecting the dots. Just know that she came to LA for music, left when she realized that the devil may not just be a biblical figure and that he lives right here on earth, specifically Los Angeles. Well, Angela goes on to say that people joke about selling your soul for fame. No one talks about how ordinary the first step looks. For Angela, it started with an invite. A friend of a friend told her about a small industry gathering in the hills. Nothing crazy, just networking, good view, a few producers, and a few up-and-coming artists. She says when you're chasing opportunities, you say yes. So she went. She pulls up and the house was gorgeous. The energy felt wrong. When she walks in, it seems like everybody was smiling. Their smiles looked forced. The way people were talking in the house is as though they're whispering. They're talking so low as if they didn't want to wake something up. Angela said the second she felt how she felt, she should have gone home. And then she says someone important, she's not gonna name who, recognized her from a clip she posted and called her voice rare. They got into this conversation, they're talking back and forth. Now this is someone that Angela admired. They get a drink, they're talking. Next thing Angela knows, she's being led downstairs to a private room. The person that she was talking to told her that there was a studio downstairs. He asked her if she wanted to check it out. She was like, sure. When they got downstairs, that's when everything changed. The room wasn't a studio. It was more like a lounge. She said there was red lamps, velvet seats, and one big mirror that covered the entire wall. 2 men and a woman was already inside of that room. They all looked like normal people. However, it seems like these people have been waiting for Angela. So they get in the room, they ask her to sit, and they ask Angela a few questions. First question was what she wanted from music. Angela said the usual: success, stability, impact, tours. Now, Angela said that the way that these people were listening is as though they've heard this exact story like 1,000 times before. After Angela gets done, the woman leans in and says, We can give you all of that, but nothing in this city belongs to you for free. Angela says whole time she's laughing because she thinks the lady is being metaphorical. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. She opens a small leather case, slides it across the table, and inside was a sheet of paper. Not a contract, not a deal memo, something else. Old. Too old. The writing itself wasn't even in English. The paper itself had a weird smell radiating off of it. Smelled of incense and ash. She looks at the paper and told them that she didn't understand it. And now one of the men smiles and says, "You don't have to understand. You just have to sign and the city will take care of the rest." Angela, at first she froze. Then she gets annoyed. Thought this was some weird hazing ritual. She said she wasn't signing anything without reading it first. And y'all, the woman tilted her head and said, "You already read it. You read it the moment you walked in this room. It's been waiting for you since you got off the plane." Angela gets distracted because she could have sworn she saw something flicker in the mirror. When she looks up, it wasn't a glitch. She caught a reflection that wasn't in the room. She saw from the mirror that it was a very tall figure standing way too close, watching her. When she looks around her, she sees nothing. At that point, Angela stood up immediately. Temperature drops like it's suddenly freezing cold in this room. Her throat starts to tighten up as if someone was choking her. Man says, "If you walk away, you will never know success. Because we're giving you the success right here." Angela says she pushes them back and ran up the stairs. The party upstairs was still happening like normal, like nothing just happened downstairs. When she steps outside, the whole house went quiet behind her. She says she gets home and she says that night and forward, she had the worst nightmare of being trapped in hell. Her life started going downhill. You will never believe how this story ends. I honestly can't believe it. If you want to hear how Angela's story ends, this is already 4 minutes long, so leave a comment for part 2. Make sure you hit the plus button for more.
Los Angeles.
Archaeologists have discovered a huge ancient city hidden underground in Mexico, which may give a better understanding of the Maya civilization.
The Maya civilization vanished, leaving behind only ruins and mysteries. Now, a stunning DNA test has finally exposed their true origins, and the reality is far more terrifying than we imagined. Deep in a sealed chamber, scientists found remains that are not what they seem.
They die and they revive again every day to remind humans that they got to keep balance, maybe by making offerings and rituals specific to the underworld.
Their DNA contains an impossible sequence, a code that rewrites our understanding of human history. This isn't just a new discovery. It's the unraveling of a dark secret, one that suggests the Maya were connected to something else. The Obsidian Anomaly. It all started in the Petén Basin of northern Guatemala. This is one of the thickest, least explored parts of the entire Mayan world. A research team was working on a restoration program scanning the foundations of collapsed temples near the massive city of El Mirador. The ground-penetrating radar showed an anomaly, a geometric void, perfectly circular, buried more than 40 feet below the pyramid's foundation. You see, nature doesn't build in perfect circles. At first, they thought it was just a natural cave, but as they dug, they hit a layer of stone that was wrong. The blocks were smoother, cut with perfect precision and bound together by a strange adhesive compound that was harder than modern cement. Then they found it. A sealed doorway. A single massive slab of limestone. It had faint engravings, but they weren't Mayan. They didn't match any known script. Some looked like pre-Olmec shapes, while others seemed entirely alien. The team noted their instruments were acting up again. The slab was giving off weirdly low magnetic readings, as if it had metal inside the stone. After days of careful work, they finally breached the slab. A burst of compressed air hissed out. Inside was a circular chamber about 23 feet across. But the walls, they were coated in a black, glass-like substance. It looked like obsidian, but it absorbed the light from their lamps. It didn't reflect it. The air was cold, several degrees lower than the jungle outside, and it was completely unnaturally silent. And in the center, sitting on 3 stone pedestals, were the ancient remains of 3 individuals. They were seated cross-legged, surrounded by jade ornaments, polished metallic discs, and crystal fragments. What many overlooked at first was the state of preservation. The site was pristine. untouched by decay, which should be impossible in the tropical humidity. But the individuals themselves were the real mystery. Their skulls were elongated. Now we know the Maya practiced artificial head binding, but this was different. The bone density and symmetry suggested this wasn't artificial. This was genetic. But here's the kicker: the carbon dating. The team tested organic fibers from the chamber. The results came back at approximately 12,400 years before present. Let that sink in. This chamber and the people inside it were thousands of years older than the Maya civilization. They were older than the Olmec. They were from a time before history as we know it began in the Americas. This discovery alone would change the textbooks. But the thing nobody tells you is what happened when they took the remains back to the lab. They ran a DNA test, and what they found, what they unleashed, is the dark secret the title of this story is all about. The initial analysis was standard. The mitochondrial DNA belonged to haplogroup A2, which is common among indigenous peoples of the Americas. But then the deeper sequencing failed. Specific parts of the genome just wouldn't align with any known human data. They thought it was contamination, but the anomaly repeated. It was identical across all three individuals. They found it in the non-coding regions of the genome, the part scientists used to call junk DNA. They found a sequence, a repeating patterned motif. It was so precise, it wasn't random, it wasn't mutation, it was mathematical. When they mapped it, the pattern displayed a recurring ratio that perfectly approximated the Fibonacci progression. It was a code. This was impossible. This was a message hidden inside a strand of DNA from 12,400 years ago. They labeled the anomaly Sequence X473. It was part human, part something else. But this genetic code wasn't just a random message, it matched something else. Sequence X473. This is where the story gets truly unsettling. This wasn't just old DNA, it was active. Parallel tests at...
Do you think they were, interdimensional beings? They came, then left to go back where they came from because they knew what was coming?
I've heard you talk about methylene blue.
Oh.
For brain health.
Ever done that?
No.
Oh my goodness.
What is it?
Well, it's old as dirt, so nobody's making money on it. But it is a dye. And so if you swallow it, you'll pee blue. But it's also a bridge for how to help mitochondria move fuel along. So one of the worst parts, you asked me this question about supplements, and I really have a tough time saying which supplements actually get to the cells that the patients are looking for. There's a really great fact about methylene blue that when you swallow it, it actually was used for malaria treatment or anti-malaria for soldiers, and they would check compliance by making sure that their pee was blue. But when they died, at autopsy, they had blue brains and blue hearts.
What?
It would dye these organs blue. You say, my gosh, that's so strange. But you know what that tells me? It got to the cells that it was advertising it was going to get to. So you look at methylene blue, it's supposed to supercharge your brain. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard this before. So I read about it and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of literature on this. And then I did what I normally do, which is, well, let me take it for a couple weeks. It was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I was floored at how well that little turkey worked. So there's no money to be made on it. It's been around as long as dirt, but it's a powerful brain energizer. Like, it helps the electrical stimulus of the mitochondria in your brain keep energy high. And especially for like high energy brains, I love it. I'm like, I put that in my morning coffee, which is where the April Fool's joke, because nobody can see it in their coffee, but they definitely pee blue.
And do you take creatine as well?
I do take creatine, yeah. Yeah, that's great. That brain supplement is awesome. You do?
I do, but my doctor the other day, I think he was suggesting that I might have taken too much.
Why?
I do.
Some liver scan I had, and he was saying that.
Liver scan or kidney scan?
Kidney scan.
Kidney scan. So that's the trick. Don't fall for that. I mean, I've done a couple of big shows on this where creatine is what you're going to measure kidney function with. When your doctor checked your kidneys, he probably had you pee in a cup and check your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's looking at what did you pee out and how clean is your blood. That's what kidneys do.
You just did a blood test.
Okay. Well, even the blood test, the trash was looking like it was a little higher because the trash we're measuring is creatine, creatinine, and which is made from your supplement. So you put the supplement in and it looks like there's more trash around. But that's just the supplement. It's falsely elevated. It's not true. Your kidneys did not get hurt by that. I answer this question probably 30 times a week. I have a standard email saying, here's what happened. Don't measure that. There's other ways he could have measured your kidney that would not have been manipulated by that supplement. What it does for brain function, especially if there's any ADHD, man, they love it. They just focus for a long period of time. I mean, it's got other great findings like how often do you fly over to London?
Yeah, I fly a lot.
Yeah, that's the best part about it is that the jet lag part of it. There's really good studies on this. Like your reset of sleep is going to be augmented if you take like 20 grams of it after the flight, 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And those are great studies like, Navy SEALs, sleep deprived. Watch what happens when you add creatine.
Okay.
There's an inverted tree growing downward into the abyss, and Kabbalists say if you descend into it, you meet the shattered fragments of God's first failed creation. Okay, I've been asked about the Qliphoth so many times that I am finally covering it, but let me be crystal clear up front. I am not advising anyone to practice this. Traditional Kabbalah doesn't involve the Qliphoth at all. You can study the Tree of Life your entire life without ever touching this, and that's actually what I'd recommend, because the Qliphoth is considered extremely dangerous territory, even by occultists who work with it. So, what is it exactly? Well, in Kabbalistic cosmology, before our universe existed, God attempted creation, but the divine light was too intense. The vessels meant to contain it shattered, and those broken shards fell into the void and became the Qliphoth, which means the shells or husks of failed divinity. Now here's where it gets unsettling. The Qliphoth isn't just an abstract concept. It's mapped as an actual inverse tree, a dark mirror of the Tree of Life. Where the Tree of Life has 10 spheres of holy emanation which are ascending toward God, the Qliphoth has 10 spheres of broken reality descending into absolute negation, and each sphere means something. Now, these aren't necessarily demons in the pop culture sense. They're described as trapped shards of divine light, buried in layers of distortion, illusion, and spiritual waste. Think more of them like black holes, collapsed stars that were once brilliant but now consume everything around them. Now, I'm not going to cover each sphere in detail today. I'm going to take that up another time, but here's what makes the Qliphoth genuinely dangerous from an occult perspective. These aren't just metaphors. Mystery schools that work with this framework believe these are actual states of consciousness that you can access and get trapped in. The theory goes that every time you engage with distorted versions of divine qualities, false beauty, corrupt power, wisdom twisted into manipulation, you're touching the Qliphoth. And if you descend intentionally without proper preparation, you can become stuck in these inverse realms. Now, medieval Kabbalists taught the only reason to study the Qliphoth was to understand what to avoid, to recognize the shells so you don't mistake them for the light. Later, occultists started viewing them as stages of ego death that must be confronted to reach enlightenment. But even they emphasize, this is not beginner territory. This is not something you explore casually or for fun. So, yeah, the Qliphoth represents one of the darkest concepts in Western esotericism, the idea that divine light, when shattered and inverted, becomes something that actively traps and consumes consciousness. It's Kabbalah's map of everything that went wrong with creation, and everything that can go wrong with a soul. And again, to be absolutely clear, I am covering this because of request, not because I'm encouraging Qliphothic work, because traditional Kabbalah focuses entirely on the Tree of Life. It's the upward path. You never have to touch the shadow side. But if you guys want to learn more about Kabbalistic cosmology and esoteric teachings, and you want to see the full deep dive into all the spheres, make sure to like the video, let me know what you think about the Qliphoth in the comments below, and follow for more deep dives like this. Till next time.
It's demonic, witchcraft. Get to know Christ, folks.
As I started to go back into the 1800s, I then came to the dental industry using copper products. One device which was really interesting was a copper tongue scraper. And I actually read that they started to use copper tongue scrapers as soon as they realized copper was antibacterial. And so people were then using it in their mouth and no bacteria would survive in their mouth. And so people were then finding that their dental health was improving and they no longer needed to fund the dental industry. But what they also found out was that when they glided copper in their mouth, they would absorb copper ions which were electrically charged. And this was the same time that we figured we were electrical beings. And so they then realized that when they put copper in their mouth, it was increasing their conductivity and therefore their frequency. And we know the higher frequency somebody is, the healthier they are. And this was at the same time that everybody was drinking from copper because they knew it could purify the water through its antibacterial properties. So the dental industry then figured that copper would be very beneficial for people's dental health. But because people's dental health were improving, it nearly put the dental industry out of business. And that's why all of the dental products today are either plastic or stainless steel for this reason, because they figured that copper was benefiting people, which they didn't like.
Could copper be used as a filling?
I'm specifically talking about the bizarre 18-year gap of time in the Bible. In the New Testament, there is literally zero mention or even the vaguest reference to Jesus' life.
The Bible has a massive plot hole. 18 missing years in the life of Jesus. From age 12 to 30, he vanishes. But what if those years were never missing? Tucked away in the Ethiopian highlands, an ancient gospel written in a forgotten language describes a young Jesus with unimaginable power. This text, part of an 88-book Bible, shows him healing, commanding, and even wielding the power of life and not life. The crazy part is, the wider church refuses to talk about it. The missing plot line. What most people don't realize is just how long and total this silence really is. The canonical Gospels, that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, give us these incredibly detailed, dramatic stories of his birth. We get the shepherds, the wise men, the star, and the panicked King Herod. Then the story moves to his family's desperate escape to Egypt to save his life. After that, the information just about dries up. We get a single, brilliant flash of his childhood. It's the famous story in the Gospel of Luke. Jesus is 12 years old. His family does what they do every year. They travel to Jerusalem for the Passover, a massive festival. It's crowded, chaotic, and full of pilgrims. After the festival, the caravans of people from their village head back home to Nazareth. Mary and Joseph travel for a full day, assuming Jesus is just somewhere in the crowd, playing with his cousins or friends. But he's not. When evening comes, they realize he's gone. It's every parent's worst nightmare. Absolute, cold panic. They race back to the city, a full day's journey. They then search for 3 whole days. Imagine the terror, searching for your child in a massive ancient city. Where do they finally find him? In the temple. He's not lost. He's not scared. He's sitting in the middle of the most educated, respected religious scholars and elders, and he's holding court. The text says he was listening to them and asking them questions, and everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents see him, Mary is, of course, a wreck. She's relieved and she's angry. She says, "Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father and I have been searching for you in great distress." And the 12-year-old Jesus gives one of the most cryptic, chilling replies in the entire Bible. "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" The text is clear. They did not understand what he meant. The story ends with him going back to Nazareth with them, being obedient. It says he increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. And then, blackness. A void of 18 years. The timeline just flatlines. There is not one single word in the entire canonical Bible about what he did, where he went, or what he learned between age 12 and age 30. It's a black hole. When the story picks back up, Jesus is a grown man. He walks out of obscurity to the Jordan River where his cousin, John the Baptist, is holding a massive revival. He gets baptized, the heavens open up, a dove descends, and a voice booms. "This is my beloved Son." From that moment, his 3-year public ministry begins. The miracles, the sermons, the controversies, and the final world-changing week in Jerusalem. But what about those 18 years? It's not a weekend. It's the difference between a boy and a man. It's when he would have learned his trade as a carpenter. It's when he would have wrestled with his own identity. It's when he would have formed his revolutionary worldview. It's not that simple, though. Mainstream historians and biblical scholars, when they're asked, usually argue that the silence is the point. They say he lived a normal, quiet life. He worked in his father's carpenter shop in the tiny, unimportant town of Nazareth. He studied the Torah, he went to the synagogue. His life just wasn't newsworthy yet. But that answer has always felt, well, cheap. It feels like a cop-out. How does a small-town carpenter suddenly walk out of the desert and speak with such earth-shattering authority? This gap has been a breeding ground for centuries of speculation. We're talking wild theories, and they are some of the most fascinating what-ifs in history. One of the most popular is the Jesus in India theory. The crazy part is, this was a huge deal in the late 19th century. A Russian journalist named Nicholas Nadovich claimed that while he was in the Himalayas, he visited a monastery in Tibet. There, the monks showed him ancient scrolls. They told the story of a holy man from the West named Isa. This Isa, they said, traveled the Silk Road, studied with the Brahmins in India and the Buddhist monks in Tibet. He learned their healing arts, their philosophies, and their mystic traditions before returning to his homeland to teach. Nadovich.
By the way, Jesus is not Isa. Don't get it twisted.
Hearing kids around me goes 6, 7, 6, 7. And I was like, what is this? In February of this year, 2005, this rapper Skrilla came out with a song called Doot Doot. I mean, he went into a studio, I think it was called 808 Studios in, I think South Philly, but they said something about Baby Shark in the studio, and so he just started doing doot doot doot. He says, the way that switch Bert, I know he dying, 6, 7, I just bipped right on the highway, bip bip. There's really not context with this. What does 6, 7 mean? This comes out in February, and shortly after that, there were highlight reels of LaMelo Ball playing basketball. He's the starting point guard for the Charlotte Hornets, and he is also 6'7". And so they started making highlight reels with this soundtrack playing because 6'7", he's 6'7". And that started getting steam. And then there was other athletes that were picking up this idea of 6'7", including a basketball player for Overtime, I believe it's called. And he had a staged thing where he has somebody ask him a question so he could answer it. And they're like, between 1 and 10, how would you rate that drink, or whatever they said? And he goes, I don't know, 6, 7. And that became this whole 6, 7 thing, right? But this Skrilla artist, he's very open about his practices of what he does with Santeria. He talks about some of these acts that he does. It's easy to write off the idea of 6, 7 and say, it's just numbers. Don't get all uptight. I think we need to understand the person who is responsible for setting an entire culture ablaze with this chant, which is ritualistic. He does not shy away from his practices.
You can put, you can put bad spirits on people.
You can put bad spirits on people.
You can put a person's name. You can put them inside the Agun pot.
All right, you can take their name and put it in the Agun pot. When it pertains to 6, 7, Agun or Yemaya is, Agun means 6, Yemaya means 7, and these are gods that are part of his practice, his worship, because he just brought up Ogun. People were saying Ogun means 6. Let's say it doesn't mean 6. He's still talking Ogun. So he's saying you put it in an Ogun pot, a bowl of some kind that you put their name in, and you're casting spells.
Oh, in the beginning, look at their faces.
Yo, this video should terrify you. So not too long ago, these researchers sent actors into a busy park. Then they made them do something very strange. They would walk up to complete strangers, ask them to hold their coffee, check their phone, take the coffee back, and then walk away.
What?
Those strangers had no idea that they were part of an experiment. So you see, half of them, they were handed an iced coffee. And the other half, well, they were handed a hot coffee. Now, a few minutes later, somebody walks up with a clipboard and $20 with another weird request. They asked them to read a 3-paragraph story and answer 2 questions, and the $20 was theirs. But yo, here's the part where it gets a little wild. They all read the exact same story, but when the researcher asked them to describe the main character, something insane happened. The people that held the warm coffee thought the character was warm, genuine, and caring. But the people that held the cold coffee, well, they thought the same character, was cold and uncaring. So yo, their entire perspective about the same character changed based on the temperature of the coffee that they were made to hold. And that right there is the scary part. Your moods, your decisions, and your judgments about people are all being shaped by things you might not even notice. Maybe the danger isn't that our minds can be influenced. Maybe it's the fact that we rarely notice when it does happen.
The elite gatekeep what is it called? Mind conditioning.
Differently than everyone else, and its implications are a lot more insidious than you'd think. In a previous video, I talked about how the elite use taste to keep you out. And in that video, I used a particular example at a dinner party where guests were talking about visiting Puglia. And one criticism that I got was that this kind of gatekeeping happens in every social circle, which is true. But where the difference lies is in the stakes. We're also going to address today why these games matter. Sure, gaming has casuals versus hardcore. Car guys talk about car parts and models like it's another language. Every group develops insider knowledge as a boundary marker. This is human, and this is how communities form identity. But the sleight of hand in those responses is that it flattens context. When a gamer sneers at you for not knowing a particular game, you're excluded from a Discord server, maybe you're mocked in the comments, you can just leave the entire subculture entirely. But when the elite use taste to exclude, say you're at a business dinner, you don't know where Puglia is, what a masseria is. Also at dinner is the manager you're up against for promotion. They're talking about golf and biodynamic wines and summer plans to visit the Alentejo, while you feel largely left out of the conversation. Maybe you're better on paper, but it doesn't matter. You get passed up for the promotion. But no one says we didn't promote you because you've never been to Puglia. Instead they say not the right cultural fit or lacks executive presence. But what they mean is that you don't have the embodied habitus of someone who grew up around travel and dinner party fluency. You're not one of them, so why would they ever take care of you? The stakes go from slightly annoying in the gaming case to career defining and generationally consequential. It's also not just one gate, but a matrix of gates that all reinforce each other on the path to generational wealth. The same people who debate summering in Puglia versus Basilicata also know the right boarding schools, the right volunteer experiences for Ivy League admissions. The colleague who gets the promotion over you, 5 years later they make partner. Now they earn $800,000 a year and their kids go to elite private schools. They grow up skiing in Aspen, learn to sail and ride horses, and attend dinners where adults talk about wine, art, and architecture. By the time these kids enter the job market, they have the entire cultural toolkit pre-installed. Meanwhile, you stay in your role and you make a good salary of $120,000 a year. But you can't afford private school for your kids. They don't learn the leisure activities of the elite. And when they enter the job market, they're 20 years behind on cultural capital. And the cycle repeats itself in a process Bourdieu calls social reproduction, which is a topic that I'm definitely going to touch on in a future video, so if you want that, please like and follow. At the end of the day, Bourdieu was writing for the everyman, not the elite. And his implicit message was to show you the machinery behind the system and give you the tools for you to decide how to move within it. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.
You know, and some people still think everyone is equal.
In that 1995 meeting in Beverly Hills in the home of Clyde Davis, who was responsible for the murder of Whitney Houston, I said,
oh, that's a big claim.
And there were rappers there from all over the country. They were invited to the home of Clyde Davis, along with members of the CIA, FBI, which they didn't understand why the government was there, including many directors and CEOs of the private prisons throughout the United States was at that meeting in the mansion of Clyde Davis. And they were telling these rappers, you need to create songs talking about killing police, calling black women bees and hoes. You need to get more nasty so we can fill our prisons that we're building. Okay.
You know what's crazy during that time? I can recall when that gangster music came into play.
That's it.
And how they, you know, I don't know if the guys rapping it really knew, but they created the atmosphere.
Yes.
But it went from, I remember guys wanting to wear like the African chains around their neck
Yes.
and dancing and the haircuts, flat tops, Kid and Play,
Flat top, yeah.
Kwame, to the really thugged out and just the gang stuff. And I can recall going into like liquor stores or different places, and all they had was blue and red rags.
Right.
It was just like that stuff was all programmed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is
CIA control hip hop.
The shocking hidden meanings of most popular phrases. Check this out.
Okay, blood is thicker than water. What do you think that means?
Well, it's always been suggesting that family comes first.
Okay, do you want to know the actual saying, which is true? The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Oh.
It's the complete opposite meaning of how everyone uses it in the Western world, yeah. The blood of the covenant, obviously that's God and you, right?
Yeah.
The covenant, Spirit, Holy Spirit, right? Is thicker than the water of the womb. The water of the womb. That's just already that, just like those two words in itself. That was always the same, going back hundreds of years, centuries. Everyone says blood is thicker than water. You don't understand what you're saying because you're reversing the Hebrew and you're changing the meaning to the complete opposite. This is not a theory anymore. This is literally how I wake up every morning. Okay, curiosity killed the cat. Have you heard that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, ready? Do you want to know the original one, the Hebrew one? Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
Ooh.
You can't die in this realm. You always come back. Not 9 lives. That's another addition that because they don't want you to realize how powerful you are, how protected you are from day one. You know?
What else you got? This is great.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, have you heard this one? Jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah.
Jack of trades, master of
My dad used to say that, yeah? Ready?
I like that.
Jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one. That's the real saying.
Wow.
It's the opposite, bro. That's completely the other side.
It is the opposite. Yeah, it's basically...
We've been living in this world where we are literally teaching our children a lie every time. And because we don't understand the esoteric meaning and the origin of English.
That's incredible, isn't it? That's a particularly good one.
That's one of the most widely used. I'm sure every second of the day someone's saying that.
Well, it kind of...
I think I heard that.
There are similar sayings, and there is like, oh, he's a one-trick pony, you know, and
well, it's trying to teach you to, focus on one thing, don't ignore everything else. No, that's not your job here. That's not your purpose on this earth.
No, it's telling you to do the complete reverse.
Yeah.
Everything's been
often better. It's not like sometimes. It's the majority of the time. You are gonna have to pivot. That's the whole point. If you get comfortable for too long, you're doing something wrong.
This is amazing. Check this out.
English is a spell casting language.
This is pretty cool. Your brain physically restructures itself every time you read scripture. Neuroscientists can actually measure this. When you read the Bible daily, neural pathways, they start to rewire in your brain. New connections form and old patterns start to break. The brain's prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that controls the decision making, it shows increased activity after just 21 days of consistent scripture reading. That's so cool. It's not just about reading more, it's about creating a collision point. Pick one time, same time, every single day. And it's not like when you feel like it time, not when it's convenient. Your brain, it craves patterns. Give it one. 5 minutes at 6 a.m. It does way more than an hour whenever you get around to it. This is why Romans 12:2, it says to quote, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transform. That's metamorphosis language. That's caterpillar to butterfly rewiring. You're not reading ancient words. You're letting God rebuild your brain one day, one passage, one transformation at a time.
Powerful, amazing.
I'll be damned if I'm waking up next to Diddy and my booty feel out of place. This documentary told so much. As soon as it got to Lil Rod's part in the documentary, this turned scary. I didn't know documentaries were supposed to be terrifying. There was one part when Lil Rod was talking, I had to get up and turn on all the lights in my house because it was 2 o'clock in the morning and I was scared. Diddy was a menace. Lil Rod started talking and was saying I was getting groomed at the beginning and I didn't know it. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh damn, where's this about to go? And then he goes into the story about Diddy and his son Justin shooting somebody in the bathroom, and then after that situation he still stayed around Diddy. Lil Rod was more focused on getting famous that he'd rather stay around Diddy after knowing that he just shot somebody in the bathroom and acted like nothing happened. Just like that movie Sinners, if you allowed the devil into your house, it's on you. That's your fault. That was the first sign that he should have left Diddy alone, but he wanted to stay around. But it gets worse. As soon as Lil Rod got to a part saying that Diddy told him to put on this bad boy hat and choose out some girls, him putting on that hat was the beginning of the end. And then Diddy started drugging Lil Rod. That's where the freak off started. And then he was saying that some nights he would wake up next to girls and then other nights he would wake up next to Diddy. And he tried to glance over at that part. I had to pause it and rewind it just to make sure I heard it correctly. You woke up next to Diddy laying next to you? That's when I had to turn on all the lights in my house. That was terrifying. Not only that, he said his body was sore. He didn't say which body parts, but you can guess. I'll be damned if I'm waking up next to Diddy and my booty feel out of place. If that happened to me, Diddy would be waking up next to Satan. I would have to be going to jail in a situation like that. Still though, Lil Rod chose to stay around because he wanted that fast life, he wanted that Diddy money, and then Diddy played him and didn't pay him his money, and that's when he chose to separate from Diddy. But Diddy wasn't done with him. He was leaving him voicemail after voicemail. He left him 30 voicemails in 10 minutes, and he was saying stuff like, I miss you in them cute little hats. You miss him in them cute little hats? This means Diddy was talking to him even crazier in person. So now Lil Rock wants to act like a victim. I'm sorry, but you're over there worried about that $200,000, and after he didn't get it, Diddy wants to claim, oh, I'm a victim. You should have left Diddy alone when you saw somebody shot up in the bathroom initially. The signs were there. I'm sorry, but Lil Rock should have left the first time his booty started tingling too. Diddy's...
You know, let's not shame and laugh at the victim. At least he spoke up.